Well, here we are again. We've been off for about a week. We've done a couple small jobs, such as on the front corner of that bedroom, bathroom, whatever. We did put the plywood up in where the eave is, and we took the trailer to the dump, so that's empty and ready to go. And of course, I'm undercover, but now it's raining out, and it's been raining for a few days, on and off, but it's something you don't really want to work outside with. But just the same, this behind me, this is a door frame. We're going to take that door out of there so we don't ruin the door, and then we're going to we have to take out part of the floor, clear down to the subfloor, get down to the joists, and then we're going to start jacking this wall up a little bit, take some pressure off of it, rip the wall out, get new floor joists in there on the outside, and get this thing buttoned back up, build the new wall, door frame, everything else. Anyway, that's the plan that we have. It might change, but just the same, we're going to go for it. So let's get at her. So the door came out pretty easy because the only thing that was holding it in were long screws where the hinges were. And what we need to do now is go ahead and start taking that sheetrock off. We have some electrical things in the wall that we need to get out of there. And a lot of the electrical is kind of French on where all this power is coming from. You shut it off and everything seems to be hot. So we got to figure that out. That's why the sheetrock's coming off. And we're going to go ahead, not that we knew it just yet, but we need to actually take that whole wall out. You see I brought that big beam in. That's what we're going to be using to jack the ceiling up because of the way the ceiling joists are. It makes it kind of a load-bearing wall where the door was. And we don't really want that to cave in, so that's what the beam is for. I wasn't paying attention, but you notice how your dog just kind of hangs around me a lot. Roy gets a little upset because your dog has nothing to do with him while I'm around. Okay, here I'm sweeping up the floor, getting ready to, what we're going to do is pull up that finished floor, and then after that's pulled up, I'm going to go through and pull up the subfloor. Okay, here we have all the finished floor pulled up, and now we're going to clean the floor again, pull the nails out, tar paper, all that dust, dirt, whatever's there, because we don't want that underneath the house. Like I say, just always try to get as much cleanup as you can before you actually dump it down the basement. And here I slipped underneath the house with another floor joist. I want to put extra support where we were going to jack the beam up on, just to make sure the floor joists can handle it. We weren't going to add that much weight to it. We just wanted to temporarily snug up to the ceiling so it didn't drop any further than where it did because of the rot on the outside wall. So we already just started figuring out the wiring. We're pulling some of that stuff out. We need to take the ceiling fan down because we are curious still about some of the wiring to see how things were and should have been or whatever. I'm using what they call a death stick because on this thing, it kind of gives you a good idea whether you got power or not, but sometimes the thing doesn't really work, whether you know it or not, and you could have a live wire and you just grab a hold of it and that sucker is still on. So it's a good tool, but don't ever trust it totally. As you can see, I'm ripping out the subfloor, and I'm not worried about underneath that wall because it's just totally rotten anyway. All you have to do is lift it up and break it off, even though I'm trying to wiggle it out to get all the wood out, but it's not a big concern. Here Roy's putting spacers in between the floor joists. It helps stiffen the floor up, and also we're not taking all that subfloor out, and so we need to brace it up and also make it so our new plywood can catch on the same joist that he's putting in there. This is a floor joist that is failing, rotted, whatever you want to call it, and right here is the top of it. This is a 2x10. And let's just give it a measure. It's 8.5 inches. That tells you how much it's crunched down. And look how rotten this thing is. Let me move this jack out of the way. Does that tell you anything?
Hi, everybody.
Does that tell you anything about how bad this is? This is why we're in here working, getting rid of the rot. This here was either full of termites or carpenter ants. Normally termites around this area.
Dry rot. That's dry rot.
But I got termites here too, but it's also dry rot. And also there was a toilet on this, right about in this area here, that looks like it's leaked for years, and so it started taking out the floor. Anyway, the toilet's not there anymore, it's been moved, and we're going to be taking the toilet out altogether until we can figure out getting this floor straightened out, and we might even move the toilet. So, as you can see, we're almost ready to put in our beam. We need to jack up the wall still, jack up the ceiling to get the load off, because over at that end, hold on a second. There you go. Anyway, over at this end, that wall is being held up still by a joist that's still good, and when I say good, it's good enough, but it's coming out of there. We're going to put a new sill plate, new floor joist, get our plywood in, 4 foot in for now, and hopefully we'll get this thing done soon, because Roy's getting tired of being froze to death at night, because here it does get pretty cool, being how fall's coming. And now coming up, I did it in a slower motion so you can see the accident. Right about here. Roy pops that joist up because he leaned on the wall.
I was careful, really I was.
So obviously, before we got the ceiling jacked up, as you might have saw in the video, that accidentally popped out because
I was being careful.
Because Roy was being careful. So anyway, the reason why we're back with this camera to show you a little something. Roy, you want to show them the spot of the? Oops.
You mean this one? This fabulous piece of masonry that was just leveled off perfectly. Look at that. Look at that. There's a good thumb width.
That looks like about an inch.
Where's
inch
my
and a
tape?
quarter.
Right there.
There's your tape measure.
Thank you.
And inch.
Yeah, pretty much an inch. So this is an inch higher than
This, sweet.
the add-on.
So we're gonna have to invent what it is we want to do to correct this problem and get these things to match up all the way down.
Or we'll just eat a lot of worm soup.
Worm soup, yeah.
Can of worms, I'm telling you.
So what else are we gonna find in this house?
No, don't ask that question.
So where's that gold? We're gonna need some more, some of those coins right now.
I think we're running out of gold.
Okay, here we go.